Hello everyone, welcome to Let's Crack UPSC CSE English. About me, I'm Sandeep Bhushan and my credentials are I have 8 years of teaching experience for civil services. I teach international relations, internal security and in-depth analysis of Hindu editorials. And this video is in regards to how to crack prelims 2020, wherein we would be focusing on the editorials and then how best we can prepare for the prelims 2020. But prior to that, you have a notification for subscription of Let's Crack UPSC CSE, which is India's largest learning platform. And upon subscription, you can have access to unlimited live and recorded courses from India's best educators. And you will get other privileges once you subscribe. That is, you will have daily live classes wherein you can chat with your educator, engage in discussions, ask your doubts and also be part of the answer polls. You also have the live test and quizzes wherein you can evaluate your preparation with our regular mock test and quizzes and get detailed analysis on your performance. And in regards to the structured courses, you have all the courses which are structured in line with UPSC exam syllabus, and that will help you best prepare for it. And in regards to the unlimited access, upon subscription, you have access to all our live and recorded courses, which you can watch it from your mobile or from your laptop. And you have the top educators at Unacademy. There are Sudarshan Gurjar, Roman Saini, Brunal Patel, Ash Stangi, and then you have Venkatesh Chaturvedi, Shiva Prasad, Dr. Siddharth Arora, and many more who are the top educators at Unacademy. You have the UPSC courses, those are polity, you have history courses, current affairs, economy, geography, optional courses, you have UPSC CSE and environment and ecology, along with that science and technology. And the other courses at UPSC CSE are governance, practice and strategy, CSAT paper, ethics, integrity and aptitude, Indian society, social issues, essay writing, internal security, answer writing, and also you have the course for interview preparation. So these are all about the CSE, UPSC CSE. And in regards to the UPSC CSE subscription, you have 12 months of subscription, and along with that you have 24 months of subscription. And for 12 months of subscription, your original price is 40,000, and you can go ahead with subscribing using my code SBT10. And when you use my code SBT10, you can avail 10% discount, and the amount would come down to, the discounted price would come down to up to 36,000. And you also have the 24-month subscription, wherein the original price is 48,000, and upon subscription with my code, that is SBT10, you would get 10% off, and the amount would come up to 43,200. So it is always recommended to go ahead with 24 subscription, because it is always good to be in the preparation for at least 2 years, and that solid preparation is required. And then the 24-month subscription, you would be actually benefited, because for 24 months you will be paying of the amount of only 12 months plus 1 month, that is 40,000 plus 800. So this is what you are paying, the actual amount of 12 months and plus 1 month extra. So then you will be actually getting the subscription for 48 months, and provided if you are subscribing with my code, that is SBT10, you will get additional 10% off on 48,000, and it will come up to 43,200 along with the SGST and CST taxes. So make sure that you go ahead with a subscription for 24 months, wherein you will be benefited by watching my all the classes live and also recorded classes. Not only my classes, but also all the top educators in regards to all the courses. You can have a live and recorded courses. So make sure that if you haven't still subscribed, then go ahead with subscribing with 24 months and get benefited with paying only for 12 months plus 1 month. And in regards to the topic, that is the in-depth analysis of editorials and articles of the Hindu newspaper, what is that I would wish to say here is that importance of in-depth analysis of editorials and articles. This is the one which is very, very important, because the in-depth analysis of editorials and articles, and along with all the contemporary issues in the newspapers, will make you more equipped, will make you understand the importance of the keywords, wherein they are very, very necessary to identify them. And once you identify the keywords, you are always very close to what the UPSC is demanding from you. So it is imperative that you would get into the habit of identifying the keywords only when you have the understanding of the analysis or editorials analysis, and also the analysis of the articles. So what is imperative at this moment for you all is that you need to have a comprehensive understanding about all the topics, all the issues. Thereby, my session will definitely help you out in regards to scoring more marks in the prelims 2020, at the same time having or scoring good marks in the mains 2020. So that is what the UPSC is actually focusing on, that in the prelims 2020, not only the conventional type or the factual data or factual questions are asked in the prelims, but if you look at the previous year's question papers of the prelims, you can very clearly distinguish that conventional type of questions which are blended with the contemporary issue, that is in regards to the analytical questions are being framed. So for that, my session, that is in-depth analysis of editorials and articles, will be very, very useful for your prelims 2020 and as well as mains 2020. Now we'll get into the topic, and the topic to be discussed today is the migrant workers, and the one is inept, that is, which is what you say, not competent enough. So we'll look into the first topic, that is migrant workers. So we all are aware that, or else prior to that, just getting to the headline or the headlines of the editorial today's. So it says short end of the stick. It says short end of the stick. So that means he's talking about something wherein there has to be done a lot, and then the focus is in regards to the migrant workers. Yes, definitely our heading what I have taken is also in regards to the migrant workers. So when we are talking about the migrant workers, definitely it is in regards to the follow up or the aftermath or the consequences of the national lockdown. Yes, the consequences of the centers of the national lockdown is that it was very imperative that it was a need of the hour for the country to make sure that we all go ahead with maintaining stricter social distancing. Maintaining stricter social distancing. But because of the, what is it, the immediate lockdown, national lockdown, there was chaos, and then this chaos has led to making sure that we are not actually maintaining, or not, we are not into the mode of the social distancing, but because of the shutdown of all the production units, manufacturing units, and also the ancillaries and factories, many of them who work in this, that is in regards to the unorganized sectors, or else in regards to the informal sectors wherein many of the employees are there. So these are the one who are the migrant workers, and these are the one who are informal, what do you say, in the informal sectors, in the unorganized sectors wherein the workers work. And these informal or unorganized sectors are the one which constitutes almost 40% of our India's GDP. That means we can imagine how much number of workers would be in the unorganized sectors. And these are the numbers what we are talking about, the migrant workers, or especially in regards to the migrant workers, wherein they are being badly hit because of the national lockdown. What has happened because of the national lockdown is because the shutting of the ancillaries and the production units had made them take the final call, or else the stringent call that they have to move to their respective villages or respective cities or respective, what is a state. So in the process, as there are no jobs, and there, if there are no job, there is no salary or income, in turn they cannot go ahead with making the payments, that is to the house rent. So they thought that it is better to go back to their respective villages and to the state, rather than staying, what do you say, kind of in isolated position. So they started going to the original or from the place where they have come. So these were the major challenge of the centers lockdown. Even though the centers lockdown is for the good, it was good to make sure that we go ahead with breaking the transmission, but at the same time something else has popped up wherein many of the critics are that the center's lockdown was not taken into consideration with prior little bit of what you say measures which were supposed to be taking into consideration of the migrant workers and few other things. But we have seen, because of these many challenges, now we will look at the challenges that the post national lockdown, who were the badly hit, and then what the consequences have, what do you say, we are facing now, everyone. It could be in regards to migrant workers, or even in regards to the shortage of the essential commodities, or else even in regards to the money circulation, that is in regards to liquidity. Even though the RBI has come up with infusing more of liquidity into the banking sectors, but certainly it will take a little bit of, what do you say, time to make sure that it will really pump the or else it will increase the liquidity in the markets. But as of now, there is little bit of, what you say, challenges wherein we will look at it, which will be really important for your prelims factual based, and also the mains point of view, a better understanding if a question is asked. And then when a question is asked in regards to the migrant workers, or the one these migrant workers who get into one state to another state, get into one state to another states, and what are the difficulties they would be facing, and the difficulty what they are facing right now because of national lockdown is enormous. So we will look at the challenges, the means to address the public health challenge. This is the one, the public health challenge has been transformed into humanitarian crisis. So this is the, what do you say, the key phrase wherein you need to understand. Yes, the national lockdown was because of the containing, or to make sure that the public health is secured, or else the life of each and every citizen is taken into consideration and they are secured. But I was repeatedly saying in my previous lectures or previous classes that once we come out of this, or once we think about the measures to contain or to overcome the health crisis, I said it very clearly that the next would be in regards to the economic crisis, and that now what is the public health crisis transformed into is the humanitarian crisis. So this is very important in regards to analytical point of view for prelims, and also in regards to the mains, wherein you can link it with the national lockdown or the pandemic. COVID-19 has emerged as a humanitarian crisis. Yes, no doubt it is a humanitarian crisis, but the way we were going ahead with trying to contain or else come out of the health crisis, which has resulted into the humanitarian crisis. And for many among this has affected to the mostly to the poor segments of India's urban population. Look at it, because this the Indian urban population, many of them constitute the migrant workers. That is why it is a humanitarian crisis for many among the poor segments of the India's urban population. I suppose the one who are watching the video now certainly are understanding the kind of linking what we are going ahead with. That is in regards to the public health challenge, wherein we are linking it with the humanitarian crisis, and that humanitarian crisis wherein we are linking it to the poor segments of the India's urban population. Because when we are going ahead with the demographic, India's demographic, we need to understand that where, which part of the population is it, what is a rural, urban, semi-urban, or it is a rural population which is badly hit in these cases when they are trying to go ahead with maintaining or overcoming the health. And the other one is in regards to the physical distancing in the country. This was a main priority why the national lockdown has been taken up as a stringent measure of maintaining social distancing. That is in regards to the physical distancing in country, where most of the people were involved in unorganized labor. This is very important, because as we are talking about the migrant workers, these are the migrant workers wherein they are in the unorganized sector as an unorganized labor. So these unorganized laborers are not really, what do you say, educated, or they are not literate enough of understanding the essence of physical distancing. Please to understand, they are not, what do you say, educated or literate enough to understand the maintaining of the social distancing or the importance of physical distancing. And this is the main reason, and the one who are like dependent upon fragile livelihood. So these people in the unorganized labor are dependent on the fragile livelihood. That means they are dependent on any kind of work they are supposed to do and then go ahead with the livelihood, and which is defined as daily and even hourly wage earning. So these are the one who are badly hit, because they are totally, what do you say, they will be paid only when they work. It is at the unorganized sectors wherein the work is, you have, whenever you have work you are being employed, and then later on you are not, and this is the biggest problem. And because of these unorganized sectors or the unorganized labor or the informal sectors, the what is it, labor working in them were the badly hit, because the idea of social distancing was lost. The idea of social distancing or physical distancing has been lost when the lockdown, and then later on the lockdown, the movement of the migrant workers, wherein it has created a lot of panic across the North India, especially from Delhi, because into Delhi there are many migrant workers who move from, what do you say, you have from UP, you have from Jharkhand, you have from Bihar, Uttarakhand, Haryana. So from these cities, they are the one who have migrated, and because of the national lockdown, they wanted to go to the respective countries, and that was a major problem or a challenge, and that is now even the major problem and the challenge to the government of India and to the respective state governments also. And we will look at the other one, that is with the lockdown, migrant workers who are dependent on the casual and daily wage, as we have discussed, and they are from the unorganized retail or else such kind of jobs, were the one where who were severely affected, and then they sought comfort of the social net into the towns over the uncertainty of employment. I would repeat this, I would explain this entire paragraph. That means the migrant workers who have come to, in case we are talking about the from UP and then Bihar and from Jharkhand or Haryana, they have, or else even from Punjab, who have got into Delhi as a migrant workers. They actually were the one who were badly hit, severely affected because of national lockdown. And what they wanted was, they wanted a kind of comfort in their social net. That means they wanted, or they felt that they would be comfort in their respective towns, respective villages or respective state, rather than staying in a state wherein it is not there. I mean, it is in the sense, because it is national lockdown, no jobs. They felt that rather than being as an uncertain unemployed or uncertain unemployed, what is a labor, it's better to go to their respective towns. And that has made them to throng the people getting onto the highway, even though if they did not get any vehicles, they were still walking, even they have walked even plus, what do you say, 100 plus kilometers. So this is the one which has, what do you say, made it very clear that they wanted or they sought the comfort of the social net of their respective, in their respective villages, rather than staying in the national capital in our example. And they do not want to be as an uncertain of employment. So that is what has made it, because they wouldn't have money and they wouldn't have any kind of resources to cope up when they are locked down for 21 days. So this was the biggest challenge that the migrant workers would face, and that is the reason that they started moving out of the Delhi in August. Not only Delhi, and from, if we are talking about any metropolitan cities or the big cities which are away from the various districts into that particular capital city, they also wanted to move out. So we have seen that across all the states, and in our example we have just taken the, what is a Delhi as an example, but it pertains to each and every state, or from state to other state, I mean the bordering states wherein the migrant workers have come into, and then they, because of this, they were badly hit. And the other one is, the most affected section has been interstate migrant worker community. So what I was saying is this, that not only in regards to the capital city, I mean national capital city, but also in regards to the all the states, I mean interstate migrant worker community were badly hit. Again, we were talking about Delhi, yes, that is also into action, which we did talk. and then they were actually getting into Delhi from Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Bihar, and then Jharkhand and elsewhere, so that they wanted to live a better life, so that they would get employment. The main focus is employment. And here I would just, before getting into the next topic, I would just, for the benefit of the viewers, I would say that yes, here when we are looking at, there are so many migrant workers who do not wish to stay in the place where they actually have come to, what do you say, to go ahead with the jobs, but they wanted to move back to their respective villages, because that reflects the kind of, what do you say, unemployment in various states and their particular districts or particular villages, that has forced them to get into the mode of, or get into the web of as a migrant worker. They look at, when they are in the particular state, then they have the workers, but when they are migrating, they are getting into another state, then they are migrant worker. And this is the main reason for this is, that is the unemployment, because states and the centers together are unable to provide jobs, are unable to provide, what you say, the amount of job facilities, that they are not forced to go ahead with, to migrate to various states for the, what is a search of jobs. So this incident can be considered while you're writing an answer in the mains in regards to employment or unemployment or job creation. You can put forward this, what do you say, the migrant workers who have been badly hit by the national lockdown, and you can justify or substantiate your answer in the mains by mentioning the kind of agony the migrant workers are facing because of the 21 days national lockdown, because of they are not finding any jobs, they are jobless, and they do not have any income to sustain in the state wherein they have come to find a job, so they are forced to. And that is what, again, we can link this, what is a national lockdown, to the migrant crisis, and the migrant crisis to the, yes, none other than it is the unemployment. So that is what is required when you are actually looking at the topic, I mean looking at the editorial, and then you are trying to, what do you say, identify the keywords, and then make sure that you try to link this with a new concept in the sense which is not mentioned in the editorials, articles, or even in the news item. So that is what you need to keep on developing, the kind of, what is a strategic preparation, making sure that you are being benefited. That means you will be benefited only because of your strategy, your thinking out of the box, what UPSC demands from you, even in the prelims and also in the mains. So the Home Ministry has issued notice to the states to open highway relief camps. That means they wanted to open the highway relief camps so that they would be observing the physical distancing. As we have seen, the entire national highway connecting the states were overcrowded, and because of this overcrowded, again the main intention of social distancing or physical distancing norms have been, what you say, violated. So when they are violated, so it is a need, it was a need of the hour for the Home Ministry to open the national highway relief camps, so that there the relief, in the relief camps, they would be, what you say, given the shelter, and then maintain, or what you say, get into the mode of physical distancing. So that is very important. And later on, again, what the ministry, home ministry, has decided or directed the state and union territory governments are that they wanted to enforce the lockdown strictly. Why? Because this will create, if they are not enforcing the lockdown, what will happen is the migrant, the one who is, what is leaving from one city to get into their respective states, will again create a lot of panic, that unknowingly there would be the people who would catch the symptoms, and then they would again transform the symptoms to the any other, what you say, healthy person. So they being the healthy, they have been this, got the symptoms, and then later on even they also have got into the mode of making sure that they are also having the symptoms and then spreading the symptoms, which is again a problematic to the entire community there. So what was important is to make sure that they prevent the migrants keep it, what do you say, at the state borders itself, quarantine them for 14 days, quarantine them for 14 days, and this quarantining them for 14 days will give, what do you say, breather that the virus doesn't spread. Will give a breather that the virus doesn't spread, and that is very very important at this stage, because if the virus is not contained, or if we are not, or if we are, or the India and the states, country and the states, along with all the, what do you say, citizens responsibility, that we have to break the chain of the transmission, but we are not breaking the chain of transmission. What is happening because of the, what do you say, migrant workers moving to their respective villages, the we are actually providing or giving or facilitating the virus to spread virulent by not maintaining social distancing, and that is very very important. And then that was identified by the ministry, and then they have made sure that before leaving to their cities they would prevent them, quarantine them for 14 days, and then later on, if there are not with any symptoms in regards to the COVID-19, then they would go allowed to their respective homes. And then the herding of the families of the migrant workers into ill-equipped quarantine camps, as I said, that they would be first stopped, strictly locked down at the respective borders of the national highway states, and then they would be quarantined. And here what is the other challenging is that the quarantine camps are ill-equipped. That is again a very very big problem, because even the state and the center was not really prepared for the migrant workers moving from, what do you say, one city to the respective states. They were not prepared. The district administration was not prepared for this, so that is why now the quarantine camps wherein the migrant workers are kept for 14 days is all ill equipped, and this will again, what do you say, it's a challenge to the government itself, because there is always a possibility that the spread of virus would take place. And as infection have slowly begun to rise, this is very very important, because once the symptoms, or once the virus gets into the human cell or human body, it will take at least, what you say, 12 to 14 days for the symptoms to actually, what do you say, I mean, to show it out, I mean the symptoms to come out. Then when it, what do you say, passes out or it gets into the another body, so this is what is happening is the infection is spreading very violent, and then it is rising across the many states, and the number of the country is also rising, and this is very very important, and it is a public health problem. And the lockdown's economic impact is also a concern. So here we are focusing on, as the infection is slowly beginning, so the infection, when it is slowly beginning, it is to be addressed in regards to the public health crisis or public health problem. And then we need to make sure that we have a proper health infrastructure in place, so that we can try to make sure that the minimum loss of lives takes place. And we should also make it a point that because of this lockdown, what is the impact, that is the economic impact on the people, especially onto the unorganized labor, I mean the labor working in the unorganized and the informal sector. So this is very very important, as we understand that health crisis, once we are out of it, what is awaiting for the nation and what is awaiting for each and every one is the economic crisis. We should not worry that only the migrants have been affected now, or the one who is maintaining the social distance will not be impacted by the economic. No, even the one who is strictly adhering to the social distancing would also be in the future impacted by the economic crisis. So we all need to be ready to face the economic crisis post, making sure that we have successfully overcome the breaking of the transmission of the COVID-19. And what is awaiting is the tsunami. What tsunami is awaiting for us? It is the economic crisis or the economic impact, and this is bound to take place, and we all have to be mentally prepared for that as an individual, as citizens. No doubt the RBI is doing a lot, the finance ministry is doing a lot, the what do you say, the prime minister, that is PMO, the entire machinery is doing a lot to make sure that the RBI has gone ahead with trying to infuse more of funds into the banking sectors to make sure that there is not what do you say maximum negative impact of the economy onto the people, so that liquidity squeezing or liquidity crunching doesn't take place, but there is enough of liquidity. So we have looked at the migrant workers. We have focused the migrant workers, what is going on now, linked it with the humanitarian crisis. So this is very important, the way we have what do you say linked it to the humanitarian crisis, because these kind of questions can be popping up in the prelims analytical question and also in the mains when there is a possibility that the migrant workers linking with the humanitarian crisis. Fine. So I suppose this is at exhaustive way we have discussed, and then we will now look at the measures. So what challenges we have looked at and what could be the possible measures that the government can go ahead, because we have seen the migrant workers were prevented to enter into the other states at the national level or at the borders, state borders, and they have made sure that they were kept at one place. They were what do you say kept because to be quarantined, they to be quarantined, and that they should be quarantined. But we have seen that the challenge was the ill-equipped quarantine camps. Please to understand the phrase, the key phrase, ill-equipped quarantine camps. But what is the measure what we can go ahead looking at the ill-equipped quarantine camps, that the government must use the schools, college hostels for migrants to stay and also utilize the public distribution system to provide food. So as the nation is coming up with one card system, that is for the public distribution system, that the especially the migrant workers in whichever state they are, they can go ahead with what do you say getting all the essential commodities as per the PDS system, that wherever they are they can get it. So if that kind of what do you say initiative is taken now itself, that they would get the rationing or the ration from the public distribution system wherein they will get the food. So that would be very what do you say helpful measure, or else a breather for the migrant workers. So that one nation one card, so this again you can take it into consideration that from for mains point of view, how one nation one card is the necessity, because government is going ahead with that, and then they are implementing it now, and it will be implemented across the nation, across the country. So how a logistic what do you say problems, or there would be inhibitions in regards to coming up with the one nation one card. So now again see, look at the way we are linking it with the kind of measures where the government can take up, and then they can use the PDS system to provide food for the migrants, also making sure that the one nation one card would be appropriate in these kind of pandemic situation for especially the migrant workers who are part of the unorganized or informal sectors, so that the when they are moving away from one what do you say when the informal sectors or the unorganized sectors will be hit, that will in turn again what do you say impact negatively onto the GDP contribution to the GDP. So one nation one card can again make sure that it doesn't impact negatively onto the GDP of the nation. So you it is you how you will try to what do you say compare it with or analyze it and then link it with one topic to another topic. So one nation one card, we have linked it. I have done it for the benefit of all the viewers who are watching it. The one nation one card can be used to the public distribution system to provide food to the migrants, and also making sure that the schools and colleges, government I'm talking about, government schools and college hostels can be what do you say shifted as the quarantine camps, and then provide a better facility rather than the ill-equipped quarantine camps. This could be a what do you say more safety in regards to the healthy, and then making sure that they are all safe, rather than what you say, going against the social distancing. And the better coordination with the states and more transparent approach will help people prepare for the lockdown. This is very, very important, because coordination is important, because in this case the migrants moving from one state to another state, there has to be coordination between two or three or more states wherein the migrants are shifting or moving, and then the respective states should make sure that they coordinate with the other state and make sure that the migrant workers are protected, given proper shelter, and then there has to be a more transparent approach so that the migrant workers will not feel desolate, or they will not feel isolated being in the other state, not in their hometowns or home village. And this kind of coordination and being more transparent approach will make sure that the people are well prepared for the lockdown. And this is very important. Even now it is, what do you say, never late, then we can go ahead, that is the states can go ahead with this, making sure that any kind of urgency situation comes, then this coordination and more transparent approach will make sure that they go ahead with handling the issues or the challenges which are actually, what do you say, causing a lot of concerns to especially the migrant workers. So we have looked at length for prelims and mains point of view. I hope this is, what do you say, this is the way you need to go ahead, and my lecture will be definitely an exclusive one, getting into the in-depth and making you understand the essence of or the purpose of preparing for the civil services. It is not just preparing for an exam. You all are preparing for civil services, wherein these are the areas you need to focus. In-depth analysis is very important. Fine. So we were it just talking about PDS system, but we have linked to the one nation one card. Now we will get to the other topic, that is inept. That means unusually inept is the one which has the, what do you say, in one of the or the second editorials, today's second editorial. Inept is like incompetence, it is not well prepared, inept. So the editor is talking about whom that they are unusually inept. Usually they are, what do you say, they are competent enough, or in this case they are not, because the way the US President Donald Trump has reacted, or he should have reacted to the coronavirus, which has actually been the epicenter in China. The government, the US government did not really worry about the virus which was spreading virulent in China. Later on in the Southeast Asian countries, they might have thought that probably it will not have the kind of impact what US is facing now. So it is again an ill prepared it is again an ill prepared kind of attitude which is causing a lot of concern. A lot of lives are being, what do you say, affected in US and especially in the Europe. So we have seen the data in regards to the coronavirus, what do you say, the people who are infected, not deaths, but the infected people in US has surpassed the mainland China. And why is this? Because of the attitude. It is because of the ill preparedness. That is very, very important, because any pandemic like situation or any grave situation, or it could be in regards to war like situation, which is untold war, and this is the untold war. It is a war. It is a war from coronavirus, that is virus towards the humankind. War from coronavirus towards the humankind, and this is an untold, unexpected war. So we have to be prepared for this kind of unexpected war. At least be prepared, or else learn from the experience, or learn from the countries which are actually, what do you say, gone through it, and then make sure that we try to get in a very well mechanism in place wherein we can able, any country in the world can be able to protect the lives, because ultimately is the human lives. Humankind has to be protected. If we are not affected, if the virus has not come or initiated in any part of the world other than China, the respective countries should be alert and then prepared. But because of the ineptness of, what do you say, especially Europe and then the US. We have seen now the US has surpassed mainland China as a country with most number of coronavirus cases. And that, if you look at the data, US has reached a record of 85,486 infections just on what you say March 27. And if you compare the cases with China, now US is 1,43,527 on the March 30. That clearly what you say sends a message. It is obvious that how the developed country, how the country which is economically strong, how the country which is what do you say health infrastructure is very well in place, the country which has highly technological equipment, the country which has more number of what do you say diagnostic tests or laboratories is unable to restrict the infection. And this is because of the ineptness. This is because of what do you say taking the situations not seriously and then making sure that the loss of the lives are at risk. And that is what is very important, because these are the things wherein as the head of the nation you have to consider it. Yes, what is important or what is imperative at this moment is not the economy, not the money. What is important is the life of the people are important, the life of each and every citizen of the country, of the respective country, and the life of each and every what do you say humankind is important when we are all together as a what do you say one family. That is what has to be taken into consideration. But unfortunately, that has not been taken into consideration, especially by the European governments and also the US. We will look at even at Italy and Spain also. When we look at, there are more number of cases which are being recorded, and new cases, I mean, in regards to the daily new cases, has comparatively slowed down in Europe. But if you look at the America, it is accelerating, it is increasing. And this is nothing, I mean, the accelerating of the cases in America is shifting the epicenter of the coronavirus from China to US. This is the cause of concern. The shift is now, initially it was the China which was the epicenter, later on it has been shifted to Europe, and now the what do you say the epicenter of the COVID-19 is the US. And this is the reason, the attitude or the measures taken up by the US. America is yet to institute large scale mitigation measures, yet to, because this is what is important. Mitigation measures are important. Now we will just compare it with India, even though India is not what do you say the infrastructure is not that as equivalent or good as what do you say comparing it with US, or even in regards to European countries like Italy, France, Spain and France. But still India has gone ahead with mitigation measures. What is that? The mitigation measure was 21 days lockdown. Yes, it was imperative for us because our economy was actually what you say slowing down, and also what the kind of health infrastructure what we possess is not that competent enough to handle the situation if the infections are at a larger number. So the need of the hour was to mitigate the measures, I mean mitigating the measures, and that measure we have taken in regards to the national lockdown. But America is not still yet into the total what do you say shutting down of the three major hotspots, that is New York, New Jersey and Connecticut. And these are the three what do you say states which are badly hit, and they are the hotspots in the US. And this is what is required at this moment for the US, to make sure that they have to break the transmission of the virus, not to spread to the various other states in the US. The point here is to go ahead with mitigating measures. That is very, very important at this time. And the next is in regards to the US President Donald Trump has backtracked. This is very important. He has backtracked on the possibility of imposing travel quarantine in these hotspots after a pushback from New York governor. That means initially he was not for it. Initially he was not for going ahead with the travel quarantine, that is restricting the travels. But later on, the New York governor has gone ahead with that it is the need of the hour to restrict travel or air travel or movement, and that has actually, what you say, uh, put the US president in the backtrack, that there is a possible, I mean, there is the importance, there is a need that they have to go ahead with the travel ban or travel quarantine. And now we will look at the other countries which have actually experienced, and then how they have taken the various stricter measure that they could contain the spread of virus. That is the Singapore, Hong Kong, and South Korea. So these are the Southeast Asian nation countries along with South Korea have managed to contain the spread without having undertaken, without having to undertake stringent measures. How? Because initially itself they have gone ahead with lot of testings. They have gone ahead with testing as the main key measure so that the virus would not spread. And also we have seen that in, such as those seen in China, Italy, and even India. So we have gone ahead with the stringent measures. Stringent measures were taken up in China, Italy, and India. But these countries, Singapore, Hong Kong, and South Korea, they have not gone into the way these stringent measures of the way China, Italy, and India has gone ahead. But they have gone ahead with a different kind of, what is that? That is in regards to diagnosis, and then restricting the people to not to travel. So diagnosing was the main key to contain the spread of virus in Singapore, Hong Kong, and South Korea. So different measures taken up. So this was taken up in Singapore, Hong Kong, and South Korea when it was at the initial stage. So that was very important. But once it crosses the stage, and then there is a possibility that the spread of virus can take place if you are not maintaining the social distancing, then the lockdown is essential, it is imperative. And then we have seen, even though the South Korea and the US have reported the first case in January 20, so this is very important for our analytical point of view. The South Korea and US have gone ahead with the first case of coronavirus on Jan 20 itself, and it was only in end February that US had a reliable test kit. But if you look at the South Korea, they have started in the first week of February. That is what I was repeatedly saying, that the way we have to be well prepared. Was US well prepared, or US not taking serious about the virus or about the COVID-19? What has really shaken up the China or Southeast Asia before the virus, what do you say, entering into Europe and then further into US? Because virus do not have any boundaries, it just spreads virulent. And look at the way South Korea has reacted, and look at the way US has reacted. US has had a reliable test kit, but they could go ahead only at the end of the February the testings have taken place. But when you look at South Korea, it was in February first week itself. So this is that approach, well preparedness, wherein you are really thinking about your, what do you say, citizens' life. That is priority. Health is important rather than the, what do you say, economy. When it comes to health and, what do you say, economy, health is prior. And America thus remained largely oblivious, that is, unaware or unmindful to the looming threat, because it did not really feel that it is important to think about what is happening in different country. No, we have to learn, or we have to understand the implications of what is being experienced in one of the state or one of the country, and then try to get a better awareness and then get well prepared. But that was not happening in regards to the America, and that is definitely causing a lot. That is what we are talking about. By March 30, 1,43,527 cases were infected cases, and this is the one which is really causing a concern, and that is what, unpreparedness, or they are not well prepared. That is the problem. And there were just 100 tests done each day till end of February. When we are talking about the one, we are in regards to the US, there were only 100 tests done each day, even though they had a very good, what do you say, health infrastructure in place. but they did not, or they underestimated the virus, the spread of the virus. And if the tests developed by CDC were faulty, the testing criteria remained narrow. But that means they were just finding faults at the test kits wherein they had from, what do you say, we have seen in Europe, many countries, that is Spain, also has complained that the test kits which they have got it from China were faulty ones, and they were not testing, what do you say, appropriately, so they have returned it back. Okay, if you look at, or there is a kind of, what you say, faultiness in the testing kits, but the other side of it is that the testing criteria remained narrow. That means the testing were not done at a high pace. The numbers, when we look at here, it was only 100 tests done each day till end of February in the US. But what has to be done is the tests have to be increased, and that is, now I link it to the India. Even in India, what is imperative now? Yes, lockdown is done, but the next important, we need to think beyond of the lockdown and then quarantine. Please do understand what I'm saying. I'm just comparing it with the 100 tests done in the, what do you say, each day in the US until end of February, and then comparing with the what kind of situation India is facing in regards to the health infrastructure. We have gone ahead with quarantine. We have, I mean, in the sense, we have gone ahead with lockdown. We have gone ahead with quarantine. So these are the two things which are in place and which are absolutely going as per the plan or schedule of the Prime Minister of India, as they wanted to break the transmission. Yes, but we need to look beyond the national lockdown. We need to look beyond the quarantine. What is that? We need to look beyond the, what is a national lockdown and beyond the quarantine is, yes, absolutely this one. Yes, we need to, India has to increase tests. India has to increase the number of tests each day. The way South Korea has done it, we also should do. The way the Hong Kong has done it, the way the Taiwan has done it, the way the Singapore has done it, in regards to going ahead with more number of tests each day, will make India that the transmission doesn't take faster, and then we can cut the break of the transmission of the virus very effectively. And now we need to look beyond. That is what I'm saying. It is not just maintaining social distance, it is not just quarantining. The most important thing is test is very important, and we have to get into that mode to make sure that we, I mean, the possibility of spreading the virus doesn't take place. And there was little surveillance for community spread. The way the US did not go ahead with, what you say, an effective surveillance in regards to the protecting the community, that is the US citizens community. They haven't gone ahead with the complete surveillance, which was practically, scientifically, technologically, they had all the machinery in place, but they did not use it as they were well prepared, or they have taken very, what do you say, they haven't taken the virus seriously. And as on March 28, 122,000 tests have been done in US, and this is comparatively very less. The number of tests, we are talking about 122,000 tests, because now the, if you look at the, this is the 143,527 are the one who are infected in US. The one who are infected is 143,527, and the test are 122,000. This is what is very important. That means the tests have to be taken it very seriously. Instead of decisive actions, Mr. Trump had made the situation worse with his indifferent attitude, with his, the way he think, or the kind of attitude what he has taken up, has made the situation very crucial in USA. And this despite knowing that the virus was crippling China's healthcare system and it has killed thousands of people. In spite of that, Donald Trump, or the president of US, hasn't taken it very seriously. Has he has take If he had taken it seriously, then 143,000 people wouldn't have been infected, and comparatively out of that only 122,000 have been tested, what do you say, tested, and that shows, or it is talking, that test is, what do you say, it's talking volume about the kind of, what do you say, preparedness for the pandemic. And then the country which is called the superpower, most developed, and economically it is, what you said, developed country in the world. But look at the kind of preparedness, look at the kind of, what you say, attitude, or the dismissive attitude, what it is, what you say, it has shown, in spite of knowing that China healthcare system was totally shackled because of the coronavirus or COVID-19, and then because of that thousands have been died. But still, the kind of attitude, that is not what is required, or that is not, that kind of attitude has to be shredded by all the heads of the countries, and then come together, make sure that they are interconnected, and then they have the transparency in supporting or spreading the, or what you say, sharing the information which could help the humankind. That means the loss of lives to be restricted, and this is the way, what do you say, the things have to go ahead at the time of the pandemic situation. And we have looked at, what do you say, the way the US has gone ahead, the way it's happening in US. We have linked a few of the issues with the India, the way India has gone ahead with the, what is a stricter measure, and then how South Korea, Hong Kong, Taiwan have taken into consideration in regards to going ahead with the test rather than the stringent measure, that is in regards to lockdown, what China, India has gone ahead with. And then we have looked at the various kinds, that how best we can go ahead with the kind of situations the migrant workers are facing it, and the challenges, and then what could be the measures, if at all, if it is asked in the prelims 2020, you are all equipped, you are all well aware. I mean, you are having a better knowledge through my lecture, today's video, that you can answer the question if it is asked in our, the way we have discussed, and then in regards to analytical point of view, and also the factual data point of view, and which will be also useful for the mains point of view. And I suppose this video was informative, very knowledgeable. And then please do like, subscribe, and then hit the bell button when you're watching the video on the YouTube, that is Let's Crack UPSC CS English. And please make sure that you subscribe the channel Let's Crack UPSC CS English. And if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe with my code, that is SBT10, that is Sandeep Bhushan Thummala 10. And when you subscribe the Let's Crack UPSC CS English channel with my code SBT10, you will get additional 10% discount on the original price. And then make sure that you make the maximum benefit of using my code, and then do not waste time, and then subscribe, and then get all the videos of the live classes of mine, and then recorded, and also in regards to the other educators of the Unacademy platform. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow.